If judges and grand juries won't allow you to indict a political target of yours for revenge, in this case, Trump going after New York Attorney General Letitia James, and you're the corrupted Department of Justice, what do? Oh, you try to change judges and change U.S. attorney prosecutors and try all over again with similar charges related now to homeowner insurance fraud. I'm Michael Popak. We've got breaking news related to Letitia James. She's already got her dukes up and she's fighting back as she should about a manufactured, choreographed pitch and catch between Mike Davis, a self-proclaimed right-wing social media MAGA influencer, Bill Pulte, Donald Trump's hand-picked Nepo baby from the Pulte family fortune of construction, who runs Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac, those mortgage liquidity regulators. And they did, I think Letitia James is committing insurance fraud because she's not, she's got a niece living in a house in Norfolk, Virginia that's worth $160,000. Oh, says Bill Pulte. It's like a puppet show. Oh, says Bill Pulte. You think so? Let me make a criminal referral, but let me not make it in Virginia because grand juries are not indicting Letitia James in Virginia. Let me send it down to Florida in Miami, where Donald Trump's handpicked prosecutor sits and his handpicked Judge Cannon sit, and send it to Illinois and see if we can do any better. How's that? I mean, I wasn't a fly on the wall, but that's how that puppet theater went. I'm Michael Popak. You're on the MeidasTouch Network with this breaking news. When I give you more information and more color around each of the participants, I think you'll see this for what it is and see through this for what it is and understand why Letitia James's lead counsel, Abbe Lowell, has said this is effectively the exact same failed, meritless prosecution of Letitia James that grand juries and judges have already rejected once before. This is just new lipstick on a pig. All right, let's get to it. Letitia James bought a house in Virginia. Okay, she lives in New York and Brooklyn. She's the New York Attorney General. She's allowed to own an investment piece of property or a second home or whatever it is. I don't have, even though I've met Letitia James and interviewed her, I don't have any personal knowledge of what she's doing with the house in Virginia. I know it's super cheap. It's a $160,000 house. She has a $100,000 mortgage on it. Apparently, it's been alleged that she's let a member of her family, a niece who's been struggling, live in the house from time to time. Maybe that niece has children. I'm not quite sure. They originally argued that this was mortgage fraud, meaning criminal intent to commit and defraud a lender because they let the niece stay in the house for a period of time. And she signed, somebody checked a box in a mass raft of documents about mortgages. Anybody ever take out a mortgage in their life? If you printed it out on a piece of in paper, it would go up to the ceiling. And somewhere in there was some attestation, some sworn testimony from Letitia James that she was only going to live in there part-time or 5 months a year, or she wasn't going to rent it out or whatever she's doing. My understanding is she's not renting it out. My understanding is there was a niece that was living there with her children when she was down on her luck a little bit. Okay. So that originally gets indicted by who? By a 10-minute prosecutor, now disgraced and resigned, in Lindsay Halligan, who'd never been a prosecutor before, went to Eastern District of Virginia as the U.S. attorney, for which he was wholly unqualified, but got a grand jury to indict for mortgage fraud. That mortgage fraud indictment, though, gets kicked out in November of last year by Judge Curry, who determines that Lindsay Halligan was illegally appointed, unconstitutionally appointed as a prosecutor, and therefore her indictment against James Comey, the former FBI director, and against Letitia James were both null and void, okay? And kicked them out. 2 more times after that, in December 4th and December 11th, in 2 different grand juries, Donald Trump's DOJ tried again to get an indictment against Letitia James, and both times it failed. Think of how extraordinary that is. Letitia James is not in the room. Her lawyers are not in the room. Their evidence is not in the room. It's all one-sided. This is the way grand juries work. It's a prosecutor. A judge isn't even really in the room. And it's grand jurors, and they can say and do anything in that room until you get the transcript and you learn that they violated the Fifth Amendment or the Sixth Amendment or something like that. And even then, not only did grand juries refuse to indict Letitia James, one of them went to the extraordinary length. They wanted the judge to let them come back into the room and declare that they had returned no true bill of indictment. That never happens. And the Department of Justice freaked out and said, well, we should seal that. We don't want the public to know that. And the judge says, I'm not sealing that. The grand jury, for obvious reasons, wants to announce that they have no true bill of indictment. So now what do if you're Donald Trump? You take the loss and you move on. Just like you're not getting an indictment against Adam Schiff for mortgage fraud, the senator from California, just move on. But because Letitia James, he's got such a vendetta against her. And where does that come from? Well, it's funny you ask. The Attorney General's office for New York successfully brought over a $450 million fraud case against Trump and his family related to the Trump Organization. The facts were so devastating and proved in court before Judge Engoron that there's still a monitor, a former federal judge, overseeing the Trump Organization to this moment. And it wasn't just Trump, it got personal. It was Eric, it was Don Jr., oh yes, and other people, including some that went to jail. So he didn't like that. Now, the amount of that fraud, the $450 million, is still up with the appellate courts in New York, but the fraud is affirmed. Okay, he didn't like that. There's also some overlap between the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, the prosecutors in Manhattan, and the New York Attorney General's office, sort of collaborating about a 19-count felony conviction against Donald Trump's companies. See, everybody focuses on the 34-count felony conviction that Donald Trump got in the Stormy Daniels hush money case. And they forget that Alvin Bragg obtained a 19-count felony conviction against the Trump Organization, and Letitia James's office helped out with that as well. So that, and the fact that Letitia James is one of the leaders, along with California and Arizona and Illinois and Minnesota, and the list goes on, of 24 attorneys general that are Democrat that have sued the Trump administration this term alone over 80 times and won over 85% of their cases to stop all of these unconstitutional, illegal executive orders, use of the National Guard, ICE brutalizing people on the streets of America, that kind of suit. So he's got a lot of big incentive to try to take down Letitia James. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of MeidasTouch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way. Now, I want you to know more about Letitia James, right? So I'm going to show you a couple of clips. One is where she is defending herself after they try to go after her the first time. And I think this says a lot about the character and strength of Letitia James. Play the clip.
You see, I know what it feels like to be attacked for just doing your job. But I also know what it feels like to overcome adversity. And so I stand on solid rock. And I will not bow. I will not break. I will not bend. I will not capitulate. I will not give in. I will not give up. You come for me, you gotta come to all of us. All of us. Every single one of us. We're all in this together. You see, I've learned to stand on the shoulders of my ancestors who've been before, who came before me and who weathered the storm. And despite being seared with scars, they survived. And if they can survive, so will we. So over the last few days, I've summoned their strength and their courage. And I will keep fighting for justice. I will keep fighting for New Yorkers. I will keep fighting the aggressive policies of Washington, D.C., and I will not stop.
And the second is, I had the honor to interview as part of a panel with the other attorneys general, Letitia James, recently, and listen to her talk about voting rights and how she's going to protect us and voting rights against the onslaught by Donald Trump, including with the SAVE Act to make people use some sort of citizenship papers. But I wanted you to get a sense of who we're talking about in this hot take. Play the Letitia James interview clip.
The right to vote is sacred. This is the SAVE Act that is currently before the United States Senate. It passed the Congress. It is in addition to, it goes beyond just time and place. It focuses on the type of identification individuals will have to present in person. It will have an impact, a significant impact on women and people of color. And it's really critically important that this administration is attempting to target those constituency in an attempt to suppress the vote. What are we doing? We collectively have been talking about this and discussing voter integrity for a very long time. That's why we are here at this conference, to discuss our strategy on how to respond to the threats to our right to vote. It's important that individuals understand that elections are not a federal issue. They're a state issue. The United States Constitution does not speak to federal involvement in our elections. It is states and localities. And that's why we are confident that if, in fact, the SAVE Act is enacted, if, in fact, there is an attempt by this president to invoke the Insurrection Act and or take over the responsibility of elections, we are prepared to respond. And we will respond united and in coalition with one another, protecting the most sacred right to vote.
Now let's turn to the people that are going after her on behalf of Donald Trump, and why I said at the top of the hot take, this is puppet theater, okay? Mike Davis has had it out for Letitia James since Donald Trump's campaign to return to office. In fact, he said this disgusting, misogynistic, depraved thing out loud about Letitia James before Donald Trump got elected. Play the clip.
Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term. Because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time, and we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights.
Now, that's the guy that posted, I think Letitia James's niece and 4 kids are living in that house more than 5 months a year. Oh, back to the puppet theater. Bill Pulte at the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac under Donald Trump. Oh, you don't say. I should make a criminal referral. And then Bill Pulte, using that guy's comments in a social media post, as I just saw on Mike Davis's social media post. I mean, I can't wait till Abby Lowell, the lawyer for Letitia James, tears this apart in front of a federal judge if it gets that far. So they make a criminal referral. Now they're forum shopping. They want to get out from under the Eastern District of Virginia because they don't want to run into any of those judges there. So they take it to a criminal referral to the Northern District of Illinois, because apparently she got homeowners insurance or applied for it to Allstate based in Illinois. So they got a guy there by the name of Andrew Boutros, who's the U.S. attorney. But more to the point, if somebody applied on her behalf for some homeowners insurance, maybe in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and so that's the Southern District of Florida. which is Donald Trump's handpicked MAGA prosecutor, Jason Redding Quinones. So many photos of Jason Redding Quinones, thumbs up with people like Mike Davis, with people in the MAGA world. And he's the U.S. attorney in the Southern District. He's also the prosecutor of choice to go run around after Donald Trump's other political enemies from the Obama administration, like James Comey, like John Brennan, the head of the CIA. I mean, he's running around with this grand conspiracy prosecution with 130 different subpoenas, all under who? Eileen Cannon, right? Donald Trump's lawyer of choice. You've got Donald Trump effectively has his private criminal defense lawyers all in top leadership of the Department of Justice. So he's got his private criminal lawyers. And then he's got his effectively his private judge in Eileen Cannon. And then you got Jason Redding Quinones, who's more than willing to do the bidding of Donald Trump and go after his political targets. And you put it all together, and Letitia James has now got to wake up to new headlines, phony headlines, manufactured headlines about her committing insurance fraud. And I got news for people. Even if she listed that she was only going to live there for 5 months, and I'm not sure that's true, and maybe the niece lived there longer, that doesn't create more risk for a homeowner's insurance company. You know what does? Vacant homes. More vacant homes burn down in the middle of the night than homes where people are living in them. Okay, I just had a case, I talked about it recently. Here in my new hometown, you know, the coach of the Miami Heat basketball team, Eric Spoelstra, was on an away game. He was landing at 4:00 in the morning at Miami Airport while his house was burning down. Vacant house was burning down in kind of near my neighborhood. So that I don't even understand what the fraud is. Oh my God, somebody was living there? That's better for the property. There's a caretaker for the property. There's somebody to turn off the stove. And if there's a spark in the garage, or if something happens, they're there to handle it and call the fire department. So the whole case is it's a legal term, fakakta. Okay? All fugazi. But we're going to cover it right here. You're on MeidasTouch, the Legal AF YouTube channel. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button for Legal AF YouTube. Help us continue to grow what we've started here, a pro-democracy channel and an independent journalism revolution. Until my next report, I'm Michael Popak. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.